This is Limited Engagement. The Emancipation Marathon you've been doing for 20 years now?
It'll be 20 years. Yeah, this is the 20th year.
That's to do anything that long. And the show can almost drink at this point. It's so when did you started in 1997? Why did you start it? And what has been the what has driven you to continue it?
When I started it, the experience that I had with the Yoruba priest, one of the bits of advice that he gave me was to honor my ancestors. It was at that point I didn't know who they were. I realized I had no idea. And I knew that if I sort of turned around and squinted, I would see a slave. I would see a woman just like myself, and I would see her maybe bending in the cotton field. I would, understand that because of that person, here I am. And so I decided to make it my business to honor whenever I could those individuals that were not receiving that honor. We honor all kinds of stuff. I mean, it's just, it's just amazing.
A lot of it that doesn't necessarily deserve it, too.
Well, that's kind of a relative thing,
sure.
But this was really important to me. And so in the process of learning something about, and he suggested that I do this to grow my own peace of mind. How do you have peace of mind if there's no peace around you? And so I started pursuing peace, and I started pursuing this awareness of who these people were that were not getting any kind of respect. And I remember being a kid in the 4th grade, and we always, learn about the Dred Scott decision in a very cursory point. But there's that picture of Dred Scott. And as I looked at the painting, he's wearing his best clothes. He's got this really, he made some effort to get that hair under control. And he's looking directly at the viewer. And it's a very dignified painting to me. And slaves were not depicted with any sort of dignity. And so I wanted a dignified engagement for that event. And as Juneteenth has been around for a very long time. And I love barbecue, and I love step shows, and I love, all that stuff. But it has very little to do with emancipation. What does emancipation mean? So I looked at it in the context of 4 things. The law. How does one become emancipated? And we were taught, Lincoln freed the slaves, and, it was a very clever political ploy. He told the people in the South, "You're free." and they said, "Goody." And some of them left, some of them stayed, some of them, were taken by the Union Army as contraband. But it wasn't what we thought of, like this great wave of freedom, and they started singing that great Getting Up Morning and all that stuff. It wasn't like that at all.
No, and a lot of, once Lincoln was assassinated too, the enforcement of what it was supposed to be in the South, a lot of that went away very quickly. And it became, it started to revert back to what it was.
Well, if you think about slavery and you think about incarceration, slavery was the biggest and most far-flung form of incarceration. And so when we look at our current system, it is sort of the logical trajectory of always keeping people confined. And if we look at who it is that's confined, this should not surprise us. But we frequently have these conversations about incarceration and the prison system and all this stuff that leaves slavery completely out of the conversation. So I looked at the law. I looked at the definition. What is a slave? I looked at the human condition. And I looked at the legacy, which takes us, right to where we are today. And in my effort to comprehend, because it's a far-flung thing, and as I started learning these things, I went from West Africa to the Iberian Peninsula. I went, to England and Scotland and Denmark, and all these places we didn't really know growing up were involved in slavery, and the Caribbean and South America and Mexico, and a lot of people that are reluctant to identify themselves as Black, that are really Black people. I now have a kinship with these people. And, maybe they don't want to be kin with me, but hey, guess what? Too late. So it has really, it's very difficult to jump into something and not have a guide. But I didn't have a guide. I just had those four concepts that I really wanted to understand. And then that has sort of directed, and on my Facebook page, I have lots and lots and lots and lots of maps.
And this is Emancipation Arts.
Yes. To understand exactly how we matriculate it throughout the globe. Throughout the globe.